omlouvám, máme trošičku problém, zatím jsme neudrželi tu prezentaci přes mail, ale pan profesor se rozhodl kvůli času přeci jenom tu prezentaci, respektive tu přednášku otevřít. Takže já bych chtěl přivítat pana profesora Petra Eratha, který přichází z Katolické univerzity Eichstätt, jestli to říkám správně, snad ano. Dnes to téma má orientované na problematiku reflexivity v sociální práci a chce hovořit o reflexivitě v kontextu různých teoretických přístupů. Takže bude jako téma, já budu průběžně kontrolovat e-mail, pokud se objeví prezentace, taky samozřejmě zapojíme, ale v tuto chvíli tady jdeme do boje tímto způsobem. So, let's go.
Okay, sorry for that. Good morning, everybody. Yesterday everything was fine, and I put the stick out yesterday, so maybe something happened. Not able to show you PowerPoint, but I will try to explain what I want to say in words, and maybe need the table for my arguments. But, yeah. Yeah. So, they don't. Okay, so fine, it's wonderful. So what I want to talk with you about reflexivity is that there are, of course, usually we talk about a reflexive profession, social work. They are used to reflect, to think, to argue, and but often it's a reflection which is not clearly structured. So we think, was it good today? Do I feel fine? Is everything okay? So very emotional and very vague reflections. And so I want to give you a few aspects in which way we can base our reflection on theoretical aspects and on some instruments, as you know, supervision, coaching, and so on. So there are, all in all, there are lots of questions in social work which we have to ask. And a first question is, social work has to deal with individuals, and so there is always the question, did I deal with this individual in a correct way? Was it right what I did with this person? So social workers want to personalize things, what they are doing. And to personalize is a typical aspect of a hermeneutical theory. Usually in the 19th century, pedagogues and social workers started to come closer to the individuum. They wanted to share with a person problems, and they wanted to understand the person. And in order to understand a person, they tried to go into a kind of hermeneutic circle. So they try to adapt their knowledge of a person to the concrete individual. So whenever you meet someone, you will have a look at the person and you will start thinking, did I ever meet such a person? Did ever someone was behaving like this person? So we start and reflect on our experience which we had with other person. And in the hermeneutic theory, this is a very important thing, to be able and willing to try to understand someone, to accept a person. So you know this from Rogers, perhaps. And to give person a warm and personal feedback. And so this is one of the most important tasks possibly in social work. But you see, there is a big problem with this perspective. Because whenever I try to understand you, maybe there is misunderstanding. Whenever I think, oh, I have got you, I know what you think, what you feel, there is a misunderstanding. But nevertheless, this, we could say, theory of understanding is very, very important, especially in Germany, because all social workers in Germany, they feel they should address people in a very personal way. They should try to come into a talk. And there is always a debate between managers and social workers, because managers are saying, you are talking too much, you are using too much time, and time is money, so you are wasting the time with the client. But social workers are saying, no, we need time, we need this talk in order to get an understanding, to get a common ground where we can talk. So you see this, we would say, the reflection on the relationship between client and a social worker is fundamental, but at the same time very, very tricky, because we could very soon misinterpret what people are saying. And you know, supervision of social worker is one of the instruments so that in order to make this understanding a little bit more correct, a little bit more true. But in the end, we have to be aware that we will never ever fully understand people. So you see, it's a dilemma I would like to understand you, but I have a big problem, so I have to reflect on this, and I have to be very careful not to misunderstand you. This is always, if you come in a foreign country, that's always the problem, because you're always aware, you can try to understand these people in Brno here, but you will not. So it's very dangerous, so you would have to ask other people in order to understand. So this is the first thing, try to understand a person, but be careful, your reflection could be dangerous. A second is, social worker always have to deal with complex situation. So there is always a complex situation which I have to reflect. It's not only the individual, which I can see, but it's a complex situation. And in this complex situation, I need to have more variables. I need to have more aspects to think about. And there are two theories which are very well developed in Germany, and one is the systemic theory and the other one is the eco-social theory. So let's start with the eco-social theory. If I want to understand someone and want to help someone, it makes sense not only to be on an individual emotional level, this is maybe a precondition, but the second thing is I need to see in an analytic way resources and competences. So the reflection goes now not to the personal level, but to resources and competences. So I have to be aware of a person and I have to make a judgment. What is the person able to do? What has a person learned? What is the behavior like? So it's about competences. What should a person learn, and what would a person need in order to do things better? Competencies. The other aspect is resources. I could stress on resources and say, what would a person need in order to be better off, in order to cope with the situation, in order to solve the problems. So the eco-social reflection stresses on the two aspects, resources and competences, and thus gives us a more analytical perspective. But you know, the perspective is not totally uncomplicated, because I never know which competences people can achieve. So it's a hypothesis to say, if you would do this and this, maybe things would go better. So there are hypotheses behind, but it's, compared with the personal approach, it's a more analytical and more, we could say, more clear approach. The systemic, I could at the same time reflect in a systemic way, to say, and I would see something different. If I go the systemic road, I will see connections, I will see links, and I will see communication. So I will see you as a pattern of communication. Friends, family, people in the classroom, and with this I will have another level of reflection, because I could try to think about these communication links. And so the theory will tell you that we could say, autonomously thinking, but our thinking, our doing is the result of our experience. A very complicated result. And whenever I want to change something, I want to change you, I need to be aware of your autonomy and the problem that it's not easy to find the point where I can irritate you, where I can address you to change. Maybe could you stop this? Though I could write a little bit down. Maybe this is easier if someone has a pencil or something like this. Okay, so we'll see. So the personal reflection is one thing. The eco-social resources and competence is another thing. The systemic reflection is another thing. And of course, I could go a more analytical perspective, which usually social workers don't like to go. Analytical perspective is usually what psychologists do. I could do with you a test, an intelligence test. Yes, I could do an assessment and say, we will measure your capability exactly so that I can get data from you, and so that I can make my judgment on a better, could say, level of data. And you know, in psychology there are lots of these kind of diagnoses, of assessments, of tests, which we could use. Social workers don't like to use these things because usually they are critical against this kind of analytical approach. But the new term which we are using, which is more and more well developed in social work, is not diagnosis, but is assessment. We have to make assessment, and assessment tells you you shouldn't base your reflection only on very vague aspects. You should, in the end, base your reflection on an assessment, and maybe bring the assessment, bring your reflections down into a paper. So there is very big emphasis in Germany to push social worker this road. You don't reflect too much in a personal way. Huh? Yes, of course.
What is the difference between diagnosis and assessment? It's just
yes, it has deeper grounds. Assessment, and if you talk about, okay, if you talk, sorry. Okay. No use. If you talk about diagnosis, we expect you to have a diagnostic tool which is based on, we could say, on psychological and analytical evidence. So intelligence test, or there are tests about behavior, or about violent behavior. So diagnosis means based on tests, which are very, very well developed and which are valid, reliable, which have all criteria of a good tool. This is the reason why we talk in social work about assessment. Assessment means a combination of personal, you could say, experience, personal feelings, personal impression, but at the same time based on tools. But the tools are never ever really, we could say, valid. Yeah? Think, for example, child protection. So you go into a family, the child is at risk, and you have to make a decision. Shall I put the child out of the family or not? This is the most important task in the family work in Germany. Always this is the risk too high, or and for this reflection, for this professional decision, we have lots of these kind of assessment tools. There are more than 100 pages, where you have to go through and you have to make the tick boxes, and in the end you have to make a summary. But psychologists would say this is not a diagnosis. This is an assessment based on different, on manifold aspects which we have to consider. And so you see, this assessment is exactly the problem which we compare with reflexivity. If I try to reflect, I try to make myself aware of a situation, aware of experience which I have made, and then to find a kind of solution. Was it okay? Did I do things rightly? Should I change my behavior next time? Reflection goes more to myself. It's my professional situation. Assessment would be a parallel. Assessment is something where I have to base my decision. So, and for this decision, of course, I would have to deal very much with data, if possible. But if not, I will have to mix data and experience. Thank you. And so we could say it's about a reflection, and there are personal reflection, which is, if you go into the theory based on hermeneutic theory, there are analytical reflection, which is often based on psychology, on diagnosis, which is based, we could say, on hard facts, or the hard fact theory. And there is a big debate in Germany between psychologists and social workers, because psychologists feel these social workers always base their reflection on personal aspects, but they should base them on analytical, measurable. And there is the systemic reflection. It's about systemic theory. In a systemic reflection, the problem is that we are not really sure in which way we can change things, because the systemic reflection is based on the autonomy of the client. So I have to be aware that maybe I can't change things because of the autonomy, and I have to respect autonomy, which gives a different view. In the ecological or eco-social reflection, the problem is on competences and resources. But you see, the problem is mostly that all these reflections are, in an academic sense, are hypotheses. Okay, I think I should. I think we could. I think, yeah. And so the big problem is, how can we base these reflection on, could say, on data, on evidence. So there is more and more. I will later explain two very big words, which is evidence, and the other thing is accountability. Accountability. So, because our tradition is to start from ourselves as profession. We want to reflect, we want to discuss things, but this is only the inner movement of social work. From outside, people will say, we don't need these reflections. We want social work to be clear, to be solution focused, to be result oriented, and so we want to have evidence and accountability. And the question is, you see, how to combine reflection, which we develop in a social work sense, to combine reflection and the need for accountability and evidence. And in Germany we have more and more a big debate because, especially through the media, through newspaper and TV, we can see more and more mistakes made by social workers. And more these mistakes are loudly brought into public. And more people are thinking, there are some very strange people, social workers. They reflect and discuss and communicate. But in the end, they don't make the right decisions. They make mistakes. And we have now, since a few years, the first cases at court where social workers are blamed not to have based their work on evidence, and possibly this social worker sued. So either they will have to pay, or there are some cases maybe go to jail, to the prison. It's because children came to death, so very big things, and it's you see, the accountability stresses very much the analytical reflection, and with this the public is more and more developing these things. There is another thing which we call practice theories. And we have practice theories which tell you how you should practice, which tell you what you should do. And these practice theories can help you sometimes to reflect. Practice theories are based on, we could say, on theories which tell you what is going on if you are doing something. And the very famous practice theory in social work is ASPIRE. This is very famous in England, in all countries, because this tells you what you should do. AS means before you work, before you do something, what should you do? Assess. Assess, yeah? Okay, but nobody tells you how to assess. If you assess, you should use these theories. P means, after you have made an assessment, what could it mean? Plan, yeah? You should plan. P is plan, yeah? Okay? You shouldn't run, yeah? If you make an assessment, you should plan, say, okay, I could do this and this and this. Tomorrow I will do firstly, yeah, so plan. What is E? Intervention. Then I will do things, set things into place, and then I will reassess. I will look, what did I do? Did I do it wrong or rightly? Are there success or not success? So the so-called social work practice theories, they tell you what to do. In Germany, we have more differentiated theories than Aspire. Aspire is one, assess, plan, intervene, reassess. But there is another scheme which social workers have to use, which is case of, case for, case with. So our social workers are forced to always think about what is the case. Is this a case of child protection? Is this a case of support for someone? What is the case? And case for, is this a case for social work? Is this a case for a psychologist? Is this a case maybe for police? So who is responsible? With whom I have to share the case? And case with would mean, if this is a child, of course it's a case with the family. Maybe it's a case with neighborhood. So you have to add all players around, and so with these practice theories, our students, they get a kind of practical guidance. Whenever you have something, a problem with it, you will have to say, what is the case, who has to be involved, and who is part of the case, and then you have to go and to make your hypothesis, competencies, systemic aspects, analytical and personal reflection, and then in the end you can make a judgment. And this judgment is based on in the end, on your experience. But the ground of this judgment is data, is something which you have documented. And this is very interesting in Germany. Social workers hate documentation. They hate it. And the problem is why? Why on earth, if we have to reflect, if we have in the end do judgments, why on earth reflection in order to judge or to do judgments, assessments? If you need to do this, of course you will have to make documentations. You have to go through all these different aspects and make your notes and then try to bring these things together. So, and you know, of course, what is more and more important is data not only as notes, but data which we raise in an analytical way, data which come from different sources. And only to tell you one very striking example, we had a child protection case in Bremen, which is in the north of Germany, and it was about the reflection of social worker. and it was a baby of 8 or 9 months, and in the end the baby was murdered and died. It came to court, and the question was, why did the social worker, why didn't he take the baby out of the family and made assessment, a judgment? What was his arguments? And the social worker was saying, yes, I think it's always usually better if children stay with their parents. Okay? He had a personal feeling, and whenever he talked with his father, mother was already dead, she died a few months before, whenever he talked with his father, who was drug addicted, whenever he talked with him, he had the impression, this is a wonderful father. He will care for the baby. Okay, so very, very personal reflection. If he would be a little bit analytical, he would say, what's that, someone who takes drugs? Does it make sense to trust someone who is drug addict? Huh? Should you trust him? Be careful. Yeah? Maybe we should know a little bit more about case of what is a drug addict person and how is such a person able to behave. Of course he is sometimes able to behave very well and to be friendly, and you think, oh, this is a wonderful person. But the other hour or day, it might change. There was no eco-social reflection about resources, neighborhood. Who could care for the baby? Who could have a look? Maybe in this house, is there a neighborhood or a family, extended family? Is there an uncle or an aunt? Whoever. Nothing. And there was no reflection on the systemic aspect. What kind of a person? And in the end, and it was a worst case scenario. The worst thing was, looking at the practice theory, case with case 4. The father was not the original father. It was not the father, I don't know the English word, he was not a real father. Yeah? So his whole argumentation, a father should have possibility to live with his son. The whole argumentation was totally wrong because it was not the father. If he would have carefully looked into the files, into the data, he could have seen this is not the real father. So, and then he, of course, the decision would be very simple. If this is not the father, there is no family, and if this second father is dangerous for the child, there is no problem to take the child away. Yeah? So it's a very tragic case, but we have more and more this kind of things. And they are all due to the fact that our social worker tend to go into this personal reflection and don't, we could say, broaden the analysis and put the assessment on different data aspects, theoretical aspects, and then try to create a broad judgment. Now I will come to this, to the instruments which we usually are talking about, supervision. We have this is my personal view as a professor, we have a very problematic situation in supervision. And this is because of the history of supervision. Supervision in Germany is not doesn't come from a kind of professional supervision of someone. But supervision in Germany means always a kind of psychological supervision. The supervision which a psychotherapist gets so that he is not mixing up his problems and the problem of the client. So it's, we could say, a psychoanalytical supervision. And often, so this is the origin in the 60s and 70s. So often in a supervision, the personal reflection is communicated. Tell me your ideas, tell me your feelings, tell me your, yeah? And the supervisor, we could say, is working like a therapist in order to give you a feedback, saying, you are feeling, you are more emotionally involved, you are more threatened, so in a more psychoanalytical way. And this has led to a situation where social workers were very unhappy because they were saying, we don't want to talk only about our feelings, we would like to talk about the case, we would talk about solutions, so more and more supervision tends, we could say, is given by social worker who have an education in supervision. And so more and more supervision is based on these judgments, on analytical. Okay, this is a long way from Eichstätt to Brno. So there is a shift now in supervision, but there are fundamental problems in nowadays, because the old okay, here we are. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Makes it easier now to go on. I had maybe this is the wrong direction. Yeah, so this is a dimension which we are now talking about. You see, social work has to deal with unknowable impulses, and this comes from the psychoanalytical theory, and a lot of supervision in Germany was based on this argument. So you are mixing up your feelings in a case, you are aggressive maybe, you are too emotional, because it's your personal impulses. And so especially in the 70s, when people were very open, social work students were very open, and they liked to have this theory. We started with this more psychoanalytical theory, and you can see it was very much about the own personality, about early childhood. Why I am so angry, why I have this feeling. It's because of childhood and irrational drives. So you have to look at your the problem of the unconsciousness, psychological resistance, defensive mechanisms. So whenever someone has experienced a psychoanalytical supervision, he knows about this problem. It's over. This is now no longer. It's over because of a few reasons. First of all, it's too expensive. these analytic psychologists, I think they will get 150 euros an hour, so that's too expensive for social work nowadays. And the other problem is more and more, our students don't want to go in such a procedure. They will say, no, don't touch me, keep distance. I don't want to tell my childhood here, my problems, my sexual problems, whatever, in this auditorium. But it's only to tell you, there was a social worker tended to be very critical against themselves. This is the origin in Germany of hardcore social work, because social workers, they were aware of these problems and they wanted to overcome. But the problem is, if you are more and more aware of your situation, does this help to make a judgment? There is another aspect which I haven't mentioned. It's the organization aspect. Whenever we are talking about the theories and the assessment and all kind of data impressions which we get, we shouldn't forget that social work is delivered by organization. So in Germany, 80% of the organizations are non-profit, and a lot of them are church-based. Caritas, Diakonie, and Workers' Union. Or state-based child protection. If you are a child protector, you will come from the city of Brno. You are an official person. It's no joke. You are the official person. You have to make a decision. So we have to be more aware, or as well aware in social work, about the role of the organization. I'm not a freelancer. I'm someone who has to deal for an organization, and there is more and more now in the reflection on the organization. It's about decision making. Who makes the decision? We have some organizations, if you would work with children in need, you will not be... Sorry, I lost something. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you will not be able to make the decision, because your manager will say, I will do the decision. You only will give me the data. You will try look for resources and aspects. I will make. You know, there are managerial roles, so maybe you can't say something to the client because your manager will say no. This is not your. You are not entitled. We have organization structures, concurrence within a team of social worker, and there are personality traits. There is control, and there is of course stress. If you go to, in Germany it's not that much developed, but if you go to England or America, all social workers will tell you there's only one problem which we have. It's stress. Too many cases. And even in Germany, social workers have 200 cases of child protection. 200 cases. So when will you do all these kind of things? So, and the motivation in organizations, we have as well organizations which want to get profit, which want to make money. So whenever you are reflecting your situation, it has to do with money. So these are the different aspects. Theoretical aspects, organizational aspects, the aspect of evidence, and so on. And now, in my second part, I would like to go more on supervision. In Germany, we have these so-called clinical or counseling supervision, which is very much based on casework, discuss about cases, and usually one of the social worker has to bring in a case to demonstrate the case, to tell what he or she thinks, has done. And then the supervisor helps to, we say, to structure the case, to find alternative solutions, and so on. These social workers have a training in supervision. In Germany there is a master education, a master level in supervision, so you could study supervision in a master course. This is now the most frequent supervision. You see, it's very much based on professional, on analytical aspects, and the personal things, the emotional things are not part of that. Another thing is systemic supervision. So it's very much based on strengths and resources, so the supervisor is using systemic tools in order to lead the group. And you know, tools are, for example, scales. You have to scale the dimension, strengths, resources, and solution-focused aspects. So we are looking for what could be a solution. It's a kind of supervision where the supervisor is someone trained in systemic thinking, in systemic tools. Systemic tools tend, we could say, to irritate people, so that people are aware of problems and start to think about a case in a different way. So they, we could say this is more open discussion, and the supervisor is not a senior social worker who wants to give clear advice, but he is someone who only wants to motivate people to see different aspects. The judgment at the end is to be made by the practitioner. There's psychoanalytical supervision still in some cases, you know, maybe the methods, the associative method, communication, and psychic theater. More and more social workers are involved in very severe cases. Think about palliative medicine, think about child protection, we have more and more an attention to pedophiles, sexual abuse. The problem is, what shall we do with people who abused others sexually? And you know, usually they come to jail for 10 years or 15, but then they will come back. Pedophiles are a huge problem now in Germany, because after 15 years they come back. And the public is so angry, so they say, these people should never come back. Yeah? And now there is the problem of the social worker. They have to deal with these people. They have to help these people to come back into the community. But the community tells no. Yeah? We have very severe cases. We have never thought that people will sit in front of a house where there is a person who had committed abuse, and the neighborhood is saying, this is the house he lives, he should come out, we should care for. Yeah? So really, we'd say, devastating cases where a social worker maybe need more than professional advice. Yeah? And the more we know about sexual abuse, especially of children, of babies, maybe the more these kind of social workers need help and support to deal with these things. And whenever you have done such kind of things, you will see partly it makes sense, and it is a very positive tool to deal with its own aggressions, feelings, and so on. Yeah, you know, maybe all in your seminar you will discuss this very intensive single-person supervision of co-group and team and peer. what is more and more a problem in Germany is that social workers are no longer open for supervision. So we are sitting here with everybody can tell what he wants to say, and yeah, so please do. But maybe 50% will say nothing. Okay. Then we was like, could you say something? I don't know what. Okay. Is supervision possible if people are not open? Yeah? If only a few people are open. There are often team conflicts, and the supervisor wants to solve the team conflict. But when 20% of the people don't tell us their view, maybe we can't solve the team conflict. So in the end, I would say in Germany there is more and more a conflict with supervision. Sorry? The problem is individualism. I don't want to tell you my problem, even if you are supervisor. I don't want to be open, and I don't like you. So yeah. So real things in the 70s, 80s, social worker would say we are all the same here. We are all equal. Yeah. And nowadays they say no, you are stupid. I don't like you. You are wonderful. Yeah. They behave like like children. And I know a lot of team supervision when I was saying, no, don't do team supervision, you will not be successful. As long as you have such negative tendencies in your team, it makes no sense. Because one part of the room will tell us something, and the other will be silent. And you as a supervisor, you are within. So this is why we come more and more to other things. I will later stress this. Analytical level, what's the case? There is an emotional level, feeling. There is a level of regression, hidden emotions, anxieties. And if you see this, you can say, okay, we need some preconditions. Maybe supervision should be voluntarily. People should be invited to come or not. But you know, in a team supervision, we are not able to invite you because you have to come. So there is a tendency between, we could say, a very good use of these tools on one hand side, and the other hand side, the teams who are more and more individualistic. And there are tensions. You can imagine if there is a big workload, everybody is stressed. Yeah, you come into the supervision and you say, stop it. Yeah, I should go, I should do my caseloads. I have now time to relax and feel and talk about my regression. Yeah, I'm aggressive, not regressive. Okay, so yeah, the hidden, there is kept. There's another thing is it costs money, supervision. So you can imagine managers will say, oh God, if you all are not willing to take part, we'll not do it because it costs money. So only when all people will really do this. And okay, there is a so-called hidden fight for the baby role. So in a supervision group, someone wants to be the person who has the most important problems. This is the baby role. And someone wants to be the baby here, and you say, oh, we help you. There is care for the soul. So it's too less professional oriented. It's too much based on emotion, and there is refusal. And I have often, you can see, open refusal. I don't want to. I will not. You will have to force me into supervision. Okay. And there is the problem supervision and change. So it's now about accountability and evidence. Is there a real profit do people change their behavior? Is there a better social work after supervision, or is it more or less the same? And you can imagine the baby role is very problematic, because it could lead a team to do less and less, because we are aware it's so heavy, yeah, it's so difficult, yeah, and so all people think, yeah, it's too much. So that's a problem. So there is a big, more critical debate in Germany about supervision, and there is a new thing which is more and more in favor, which is coaching. And the idea is coaching is more direct, and coaching is usually person-centered, and coaching is usually manager-centered. So who gets the coaching? The manager. Whenever there is a problem in a team, who is responsible? The manager. So it's cheaper to, this is the idea of a lot of people around coaching theory, let's take the manager and give the manager a coaching, and then problems in the team will change. So go through the management, and you see the tricky thing is that there is no real coaching theory, but there are all these aspects. And nowadays, in each kindergarten, in social work, if you are the manager, you could go to your boss and say, I need coaching. Huh? I don't know exactly, I have some problems to talk with. And usually your board will say, okay, you got 20 hours coaching, this costs us a few thousand euros, and that's okay. But after the 20 hours, we expect you to have solved the problems, of course. So we don't go on lifelong coaching. The problem is coaching is happening in an informal relationship between an individual who has greater experience and expertise than another and offers advice and guidance as the other goes through a learning process. So you see, there is at the moment no clear coaching theory. It's more a philosophy and idea. And of course it's a market now, because you can, professors as you and me, we can earn a lot of money in coaching processes, even if I haven't any experience. Because if you want me as an informal, in an informal relationship, of course you can have it. You only will have to pay, and I will give you advice. No problem. So it's a little bit silly, because you see we have this stress with supervision, with good supervision, and now we tend to look for a new instrument, and even if we don't know what exactly. And you can see the problem in coaching, you can see with the different roles, because this is mummy for all. He is a carer, a doctor, a supervisor, a therapist, a trainer, a researcher, a companion. So what not is better than a wife or a husband. So marry your coach and you will be successful. Yeah? So it's only to show you there is literature in Germany about coaching, but usually we take coaching from the economical sector and think, okay, let's do the same. Yeah, there is a manager in a warehouse and he has a deficit, and now someone helps him to create it, and we take this idea in social work. There is almost no research if coaching is really successful. But the tendency is in the organization is we prefer coaching because it's not so expensive. It's person-oriented, and it's directed on the management. And if the management on the long run is not able to be successful, we will sack the management. That's easier to work with one person. And you have to think about the problem supervision means. If you will have each week 1 hour supervision, and we are a team of 15 people, this means 15 working hours. Yeah? That's big money. Yeah? If we take a coach for the management, that's a management working hour, and so there are some ideas about efficiency behind. Yeah, the difficulties are there is a lack, there is no theory, there is a dependency on the coach. If you are selecting the wrong coach, maybe it goes wrong. The problem is innovation. You can take a coach who is 65 years old and has a lot of experience, yeah, but he will not be innovative. He will tell you what he did 10 years ago. So is experience so important? Okay, and the rest. So, okay. Sorry, this was the wrong direction. No, this is the other one. Okay. So there is a third tool nowadays: supervision, coaching, change management, which is more and more, we could say, developed. You see, in a time where there is no time, no money, and things should go very quickly. And this is change management. So we have a problem in our team here. There are different opinions. Our clients are not satisfied, are not happy with us. Yeah? So we could do supervision. Let's talk. This will take 2 years, and then maybe we will have found our own solution. We could have coaching, take the manager and tell him new experience and in order to change the team. Or we could use change management. Partly we could use an external manager in order to change the situation. Because we stick in our problems, so we need someone, we use someone which we call change manager. He will come for 6 months and help us to change our situation. And this is a very direct method, a very analytical method, because there is no longer the question, what are you feeling, what do you think, but there is pressure. So the idea is put pressure on our team. It's a systemic theory. Irritate these people so that they don't know where is the entrance and where to go. Yeah? And then the organization, the system will start to do something. And then you have to put pressure so that they find a way. And there are, if you go into the theory, there is a kind of change management procedure. And you see, it doesn't start with, how are you? Yeah, it starts with shock, surprise. Yeah? So we start and say, okay, you know, if we don't change our situation in 3 months, 10 people of us will have to go. Yeah? That is shock. Yeah? Or surprise. Yeah? Or they say, we are Caritas. There are a lot of people saying in Brno, we don't need a Caritas social work organization. They are bad. Yeah? Bad labeled. Okay, shock, surprise. And what will happen? Negation, refusal. People say, no, you are wrong. This is not. Yeah? We will survive. So you see, you expect what people are going to do, refusal, and they will be angry, and then you will have to tell them the reasons. You have to keep them with knowledge. Why could this happen? What is the case? What is the data? What do we know? Yeah? So you have to argue. And if it's positive, people will more and more accept and say, yes, maybe he is true. maybe we have a problem, maybe, yeah? And then you see that now you can start, try out and learn, what could we do, what will we have to change, and people can get new knowledge and the cognition, and they can try to integrate. And after a period of 6 months, the change manager will go home, because he's not from, because you see he has a lot of problems with the team, and the management will take over this new perspective. So it shows you that we are more and more in Germany looking into a more economical perspective of social work. Yeah? We have to change organizations. There is no time. There are too many people who don't know why, what. They want to talk, to feel. So we have to find these things, and there are lots of these kind of organizational tools, and people make a lot of money, because you can imagine that in a market, in a social work market, there are always social work providers who have difficulties, who have problems. And so there is this argumentation. Yeah, difficulties, economical thinking in social work. If we think about the change management, there are always losers and winners. We are always dealing with pressure, make pressure, and thus, okay. If we do I have a few minutes more to talk, or would you like to discuss this? Shall we? Shall we discuss the problem? Because okay, I will tell you in 5 minutes what I read in 3 years. Okay, there is if we look now, so we talked about the theories about reflection. In which way I can reflect things, emotional, personal, systemically, and so on. The second, we talked about these 3 most important tools: supervision, coaching, organizational management. And now this is more from the professional perspective. We could say internationally there are 3 ideas, 3 concepts in which direction the profession of social work should go. And the 3 important thing is evidence-based practice, evidence-informed practice, or critical professionalism. Evidence-based practice is the idea that you, master students and PhD students, you do a lot of research, yeah, more than ever, so that in the end we have lots of data about practice, about tools, and then we could do meta studies and try to combine the knowledge within the meta studies into evidence-based practice. So whenever someone works with young people in jail, yeah, we could say you will make research about trainings, soft skill trainings, anti-aggressive training, and so on, and you will do this in the whole of Europe. And one of you would make a meta study and say, what is the message? And if the message is clear, we will tell the practice, this is the message. Yeah? This is the message to work with these people. I will show you one example where we have really, just a second. Yeah, this is family group conference. Is a really good tool to work with families, and it's based on on big research across Europe. And it's really astonishing that practice don't know about this. Yeah? And the idea is to say, in a few years, all social workers should know the use of family group conference, and they should work with this because it's based on this. And the idea of a family group conference is 3 steps. The first step is to say, what is the problem of the family? What should happen? This is with the social worker. And then after this talk, the family can invite other people, and these people, family and extended family, they will have 2 hours to talk about the problem and to make a proposal for solutions. So the family is without the social worker, but can invite other people. And the third step is the social worker comes in again and the family tells, this is what we think could happen. This is what we think should. And there are many, we'd say, good results. And there is a big argument, you see here, about this tool to say, it could be based on evidence, and if we do a little more research on the long run, it could be really best practice based on evidence. There is another one. Okay. This is evidence-based practice, but the condition is more research. Master students and research. Yeah? We need more data, we need more experiments. So this is more or less the analytical road. A second is, this is more a critical road. It's so-called critical professionalism. It's about, you see, a democratic debate. The idea is social workers across Europe should lead a democratic debate. They should argue, and at the end there is a critical professionalism. You see, this is social work practice itself, generates a valid source of street-level knowledge which should inform the development of social policies from below. So the argument is on street-level knowledge. Yeah? So the knowledge comes from practice, from practitioners, not from universities, not from research. This is in some areas of Germany, in some universities, people would argue in this way. This comes from a critical understanding, a political understanding of social work. So this is this critical professionalism, and there is a third thing which is called radical reflexivity. And this is a critical normative position based on a critical analysis, and it's about change, and we could say that's what we would call practice research. Yeah? It means that practitioners and researchers do together research and practice and try to be radical reflective, means try to be reflective against the own position. So to be not reflective only against other things, but to, we can say, to confront each other. Practitioner and scientists, yeah, they confront each other in a radical way, and they lead a radical discourse and try to find solutions. You see, the question, okay, the research should critically reflect and decide whatever has to be done. And okay, thank you very much for your kind attendance. Sorry for this problem at the beginning. If there are any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I will be happy. Okay.
About critical professionalism.
Yeah.
And I like the idea, but do you think it's really possible? Because, you know, the social workers have too many cases, they don't have any time. So it's possible or just naive idea?
Yes, I would say in Germany at the moment it would be naive. And that's simple because we have not lots of master students. Because we had, before Bologna, we had another system. Our students studied 4 years, a diploma. And so nobody of our students would be really able to understand a scientific debate. But if you talk between practice and theory or science and you don't understand the other part, it's naive, yeah? It's naive. So I think on the long run, the idea is, as in the Nordic states, maybe here in Czechia, that we will have lots of well-trained academic social workers with a master's degree. They know something about research, they know about the problem of scientific approaches. So they are able, we could say, to balance practical experience and, we could say, scientific neutrality. And if you go to Sweden, Finland, you will find these people. They are well aware of both. And they are able to communicate with universities, with the scientific system. And so I think this is the message, and the message for our students in Germany, because they can stop after the bachelor. But if you have a bachelor degree in Germany, you will have a very low-paid social work job in the end. Of course, you are a practitioner, and the management will tell you what to do. So there is no longer any freedom. You will have to do. And but hopefully there will be a master level, yeah, where a good senior social worker, and they are able to read a paper from a professor. Yeah? They are able to understand what is this. They know all these terms, systemic or critical or constructivism. They are able, and then hopefully we will have this kind of critical, evidence-based, evidence-informed practice on the long run. But there is maybe a long way to go. If you want to look where it happens already, this is the Nordic state, Norway, Sweden, Finland. Okay. For example, in England, you have a very social work is dominated by the state, and the science of social work is dominated by the state. And the only idea is make social work cheap. Yeah, this is it. Make it effective and cheap. And this is, of course, not a good place for social work reflection. You always have to think it costs too much. Okay, any other questions or reflections? Yes.
I wanted to ask you, we were talking about coaching, and you know, we were talking here about like internal supervision.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you about the difference between a coach and internal supervisor, which is actually kind of, it can be also like kind of manager of the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The problem is always is with supervisor and coaching. The first question is, who is the coach? Who is the supervisor, and which is his or her theory? Yeah? So whenever I would go under this process, I want to know who is this person, and the person should tell me the background, the theoretical. And the internal supervision, in Germany we have these, we could say, there are systemic supervisors, there are psychoanalytical supervisors, there are, I don't know, any other ones. So you could make a decision as a team. Yeah? This was not the question, but...
Well, we were talking here in this course about internal supervision, which was mainly in the past in America. It was actually led by all the professional in the organization. And I wanted to ask you, about the difference between coach.
And this internal supervision is often called trainee program. So that we say whenever a young social worker comes in our team, he will get an internal supervision. So he is in the status of a trainee. He is not a real professional. Maybe he will have to work 80% of the work of the cases only, and then he will get supervision internal by an experienced senior social worker. Yeah? The problem is this senior social worker, he knows, he thinks he knows what is right and wrong. Yeah? And he will tell you, this is wrong, this is good. So this will only help you to find your post within this organization. And this is, okay, so it's to put you in the organization, to tell you what is okay, what is not okay. You see, in the industries, all engineers in Germany, they will come into a training program for a year. This is nothing else than internal supervision. The coaching, the problem of coaching is, in my perspective, is future-oriented. Coaching makes sense if you are saying, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm not happy with my study in social work, but I know I don't know. Yeah? Then maybe a coach can help you to find your competences. He will say, play music as well. So you have to broaden your horizon, and then to help you to make plans and to create strategies. So coaching is more for if you are in a situation where you don't know what to do, or where an organization doesn't know what to do. This is in my view for coaching, because then it makes sense to have experience from external persons. I was invited from social work agencies for such a thing, because they didn't know which services they should do in future and which services they should throw out of the program. And so, of course, with my experience, with my external perspective, I could give them some hints and some advice, but at the end, of course, they will have to make the decision. So whenever something is open, maybe coaching is...
So coaches from outside?
Yeah, usually. Because because he should bring in new aspects. Yeah? Yeah? He should be neutral against you. If you have stress with your people, it makes no sense to talk with them any longer. Someone from outside should come, and maybe he sees different things. Yeah? Any other remarks or questions? Okay, thank you very much.
You spoke about individualization.
Yeah.
So should we close courses on supervision and teach online coaching, do you think?
No, we should know. Sorry. I think time will go on, yeah, and maybe in 10-15 years people will be fed up with individualism, yeah, and you will say, we as social makes the term, yeah, we hate this kind of individualism. So this will change from time to time. So we need all these tools and instruments. And in the end, it's up to the professionals and to the managers to find the best tools. So I think we can do supervision, of course, but it makes the best effect if all people are open. Yeah? And if there is someone is not open, we should think, does it make sense? Yeah? So we have to develop all the tools And time will go on and change, and maybe there is again a time where we'll have more psychoanalytical understanding of social work. At the moment in Germany, this is very much to money, you know, money, 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 and economization of social work. But this will change, because on the long run, people, if you look to England, which is 10 years before Germany, no young people want to be social worker. Social worker usually are hated by young people. So nobody wants to be social worker because they think you are the bad guy who comes and takes the children away. This is not similar to police. And I'm always saying, if I want to be police, I want to be a real policeman, so I need a weapon. But not a social worker where people think he punishes me. We have a big debate about, we can say, punishment tools in social work. How to put pressure on people. This is a new tendency, and we have more and more social workers who are afraid of their clients. 2 weeks ago, a case manager was murdered by his client because he put pressure on him. I was like, if you don't do, next time you have to do this and that come back. If not, we will take money from your basic salary away. You will lose money. So the person was angry. Yeah, so it's only to say this may change. So we have to learn and develop all these tools, but always be aware for the context. What is the context? When is one of the tools really profitable? And when is the situation where it makes no sense? I hear from a lot of social workers, they are saying, I don't want to go into supervision. This is wasted time. So it's developing tools and finding best ways to use them. Okay, thank you very much. All the best.